Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Are you ready? Get ready, no. Get ready.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Rocket Networker. I always like to begin with a silly networking story. Today's story is about building your personal network by volunteering to organize events for your high school or college alumni association. For over 30 years, I've had the honor of serving as a volunteer within the University of Toledo Alumni Network. I've had the privilege of interacting with alums across the United States and around the world. Their stories and success always amaze me. And that's where today's Rocket Networker guest comes in, Frank Miceli. Frank and I met at a Rocket alumni event in New York City many years ago. Frank played football for the Rockets and grew up in Millburn, New Jersey, about 1 mile from where I lived for 22 years in Maplewood. While we attended college and lived in the Millburn area at different times, we share a common bond through our love of Rocket football, the Rocket Nation, and the Maplewood, Millburn area. Frank, my buddy, thanks for making time in your busy schedule to join us here on the Rocket Networker podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Rick. It's great to see you again.
Good to see you too. Well, first off, hey, let's have a little fun here. I want to start off with, where are we talking from? Were you in your work office, home office? Where are you at?
I decided to come home to Old Tappan, New Jersey. It's Bergen County. It's North New Jersey, so it's about 45 minutes where you were living. And just had to get out of the traffic in New York and spend some quality time with you, Rick. So
that's cool. All right, so you're back home in New Jersey. I like it. So let's go back in time. I mentioned Millburn a little bit, but let's go back in time. And on the Rocket Networker podcast, I like to talk about the threads of connectivity. These are the little things in life that connect us as individuals to each other: our hometown, our high school, our college, our community involvement, our coaching with kids, or just the things we do in everyday life that connect us. So in the business world, you know as well as I do, everybody wants to talk about their elevator pitch and their work. But the real relationships that are important in business come from these threads, right? That's what brings us together. So let's go back in time and talk about your hometown. So where are you from?
Well, I originally grew up in Union, New Jersey. And then, my father's business took us to Venezuela, Caracas, when I was about 7 years old. And we lived out there. My father was a designer, suit designer. And so we ended up there for about 5.5 years. And then from Venezuela, Caracas, ended up moving back to New Jersey. And we moved to Short Hills, which is part of Millburn, Short Hills area.
Nice. I got you. So you did like your grade school years, part of your grade school years then outside the country, right?
Yeah, so correct. Like? So I started my, I went to school, kindergarten in Union, but then second grade, I went up to Caracas, and I had to go through the whole process there, go to school there. And then, came back around, sixth grade, and, ended up going to Deerfield, which was in Short Hills.
I got you. Yeah. So you went to middle school then, and back in the United States, back in Jersey.
Correct.
So now talk a little bit about high school then. Where did you go to high school at?
I went to high school in Millburn, and in Millburn High. And, I was there for all my 3 years. Millburn and the junior high, you went to junior high, ended at 9th grade, and then 10th grade, you went to the high school.
I got you.
Went to high school there and played sports. My parents actually moved to Ohio when I was a junior, towards the end of my junior year. And I had to make a decision to either, stay or go to a new school. And being that, I was doing well in sports, I was becoming captain of football and wrestling, and I was playing baseball. It was kind of hard to kind of, stop and try to start all over again and meet new friends where I had all my buddies from growing up. And so I decided to stay, and I lived with one of my close buddies, Jimmy Bate. And he took me in, and I, for that year, lived with his family.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat that they took you in that way, and you were able to live with your buddy right? During your junior, senior year. So that's kind of cool. But how was it being away from your folks though? That's kind of a awkward
Yeah, I
moment.
mean, it's always a tough situation for me. I mean, you know, my dad had got a big promotion, worked for Hugo Boss, so he was working out of Cleveland, and you know, it was tough. It's tough when you're at your games and you really don't have your parents there, and my little sister was with my parents, so my older sister was around, but it's just different. So it was tough. I loved the Bay family; they were great to me. But yeah, there was good and bad. The bad was the fact that you don't have that parent support that not that my Jimmy's parents are awesome, but it's just different when it's not your parents.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was tough. I think that that helped me, motivated me to try to really do well in sports, and try to kind of prove to my parents that the hard work that he was installing me really pays off, and try to get to college. My parents didn't go to college, so I was going to be the first one in my family to go to college, and so working hard to do that. So that's that's how it was. It was tough though. Emotionally, there were times that you miss your family, you sort of
Right.
miss seeing your parents. I mean, parents would come as much as they could, but it was just not the same.
Right. Yeah. It's one thing when they're an hour away, but they're probably 8 or 9 hours away being in Cleveland to Jersey. So
Yeah,
that's
down
that's
80.
tough to come in for a Friday night football game, right?
Yes, yes. And the funny thing is, we didn't have lights at
Yeah, I
Milburn at
know.
the time, so it was
So Saturday, huh?
Saturday mornings. So
Yep. That's a different time. So you mentioned three sports. So you were a three-sport athlete in high school?
that's correct. Yeah, I played football, and I wrestled, and then I tried my senior year to do a little track, but I ended up going back to baseball.
Got
Great coaches. It was a whole great coaching staff from our football to wrestling to baseball. So
right.
it was, we had a lot of fun. We had to, our football was a little tough, but our guys, we always battled. We always showed up. We had a very tough wrestling program, and baseball's always been strong. So, it was exciting times, obviously, for me personally. I achieved a lot of great goals, and a lot had to do with all the guys around me.
Right.
They were helpful. I had some great mentors. Between my parent, coaches, and one gentleman, Marty Horn, who was one of my big mentors, spent a lot of time with me. He played at Lehigh and played a little bit in the NFL, but he spent a lot of time with him. But my best friends, we went a lot on the fields. That's all we did. We just went to the fields every day, and then at night we go to the mats, and then sometimes go out there in the back and swing for the fences. So
Right.
that it was. I had a great growing up, great group of guys around me, and it was there's something that I'm glad I did not leave at the time, and there's a lot of memories there. So.
That's cool. That's great. So what's your time in Milburn? It sounds like you were there like a little bit of middle school and then high school, but the town itself, right? What's your favorite memory? Do you have a favorite memory of the area of Short Hills and Milburn and that area? Any funny stuff? You got any funny things that happened there
Well,
that we can talk about, by the way, that we can
Well,
talk about?
there's been a lot of fun situations. Milburn is a great town. Academic wise, when I was there, is one of the top schools in the country.
Right.
It's just a lot of great people from all over. It's just it was a great opportunity for my parents. Achievement for them to get to move into Milburn, Short Hills. It was a big accomplishment. Obviously, my parents coming up from Italy, right off the boat. It was, but to me, it was just a blessing. I mean, I have so many stories that we could be here all night. Some I could and can't share, but one thing about Milburn, there's the Milburn Deli. So, I'm sure you spent some time there.
Gotta love it,
Probably one
Bill.
of the best
Yep.
sloppy joes in the world. Yeah, a lot of great people, a lot of great friendships there, and something that will never leave just never leave me. So.
Well, my memory of that area and of Maplewood, we have lots of memories there. 22 years of memories with the kids going to school there, but I miss my Taylor ham and egg on a plane.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, for those that have not been in the New York, New Jersey area, Taylor ham and egg on a plain bagel, right? Just the Taylor ham and egg on a plane, right?
Or the old roll, right?
On the
So
roll,
on the roll. So
on the roll. Good memories for me too. All right, so you're in high school, you're playing multiple sports, you're you know, families in Cleveland, and you're starting to think about life after high school. I mean, what were you thinking? Were you thinking of going to college or not going to college or playing football? What were you thinking about?
it's funny. I always try to remember what during that time and draw a lot of blanks, but I do remember I always just say, I want to play D1 ball, and and that was my thing. Try to go somewhere where I can prove guys that I can make it in the big, big D1. So I never thought about going outside New Jersey. Again, without my parents, it was just it was tough. It was tough because I had no guidance, and even then, my parents really didn't understand that process. I mean, obviously understood about college, but the process of going to colleges and visiting, I had Mrs. Bate and some of the coaches would take me around to some of the local schools, and I was taking a look at them. I mean, one of the biggest regrets is my grades were not that great, and it's something that I always look back and wish that I'd spent more time working on that, because that really hurt me. Sports wise, I did very well, but grade wise, that really hurt, and that really hurt during the recruiting process, because a lot of the schools that liked me didn't really want to move forward because of my grades. So, but that's where I was at the time. Then Toledo. I tell you, funny story about Toledo is my dad's a friend of my dad was taking his daughter to school, which was Toledo. She lived at College Station, and my dad ended up taking a ride. And when he went to the campus, he loved it. So he called the coaches. He's like, "Look, I want my son to be around us. I want him to be around the Ohio area. But take a look at Toledo." And that's how it started. I knew nothing about Toledo. And they sent my film out to all these bunch of schools out in Ohio, and Toledo responded and asked me to come up for a visit. So that's how it all started. And
Wow.
I remember going up to the visits, but I do remember I had a great time. I can't remember who took me or who I met with, but I just remember walking the locker room and the whole stadium, and I thought it was awesome. And they had my jersey up and my last name on the back, and I was like, "This is
Nice.
cool." And I remember Jerry Evans was all over Sports Center, and well, that was before. After I got there, but before I went up there, I didn't know anything about Toledo. So spent the weekend. I actually stayed at College Station, and when I came back, I remember I was wearing my sweatshirt, and Evans was all over news, and I was like, "No, I'm going to Toledo," and that's how it all started for me.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. Who was the head coach then?
So at the time, that's where the confusion was, right? But obviously, Gary Pickle ended up being my coach. Phil Parker was my coach on DB side. So, when he came up, there was a little confusion for me, especially because a guy from New Jersey, and kind of got lost in the mix. So they remember calling me and saying, "Hey, you need to come up here," and right out of school, and literally right after I graduated college, I went right to Westlake, Ohio. My parents were, and I trained a little bit. I think it was like St. John's High School. I think was right there. So I spent like a week just working out, getting ready, and I went to camp. So
That's neat.
yeah,
So,
that was awesome.
all right. So now,
obviously I missed my high school sort of summer,
right.
but it was I was so focused. I wanted to show the world that I can, make it, and that was my opportunity. So
That's neat. That's cool. All right. So obviously you've got football going on in college. Talk a little bit beyond football. Talk a little bit about your experience as a student and just in general, just being a college kid living that far away from everything that you knew as normal back in Jersey. What was school like for you? What was college like?
it's funny. Coming from New Jersey at the time, everything's so fast paced, and then pulling into Ohio. And I was just like, it was sort of like a shock for me. And the hardest part was really just kind of used to getting to know new people, right?
Right.
What I found, it's like in anywhere you go, right? If I stayed in New Jersey, I'd know a lot of guys I played against, and that's how it was at Toledo, right? A lot of guys knew each other from wherever. They're all from the area. And so that was a little bit tough for me being, away from home. But I tell you, the guys on the team were awesome. From the first minute I walked in, I remember the first two guys was Aristotle Wilson, Jamal Belt, who became my, close buddies and roommates. But they're the first guys I literally met. And it was great. The guys were awesome. The people, everyone, even the teachers, everyone very helpful. And obviously Toledo itself, the program, Pinkel just ran a great organization and really looked after me and helped me, during that beginning process. And even
That's cool.
afterwards, where things were, got tougher for me as I went through college. But overall, it was I had a fun experience. I lived in the dorm for a little bit, and then my dad was like, we ended up moving into College Station, which was a lot of fun. I ended up living with just regular guys that didn't play sports, and they were great roommates. But overall, it was fun. It was
Yeah, it was good.
yeah.
So, all right. So you're getting your way through college. You're starting to think about, there's now life after college. There's this weird thing out there called making a living and life that kind of gets in the way of all the fun, right?
Right.
So what were you thinking about as you got toward, like graduating? What did you think life was going to be for you career wise? What were you thinking about?
Rick, I tell you, if we step back,
Go
I
ahead.
don't know if we talked about this, but yeah, I my third year, first 2 year redshirted, played the second year, played special teams and trying to fight for a position, and guy my size and is kind of, it was a quest of its own. But I was doing well. I thought I was moving up in the ranks, and then I blew my knee out,
Oh no.
and ended up tearing my MCL. I had to reconstruct everything, and I was doing spring ball, and it was tough, right? I had to get reconstruction, and I remember Dr. Fragamini and them took care of me. But that was sort of like the beginning of a really tough battle. So I remember, Pinkel called me and saying, that this is going to be tough, right? So that was sort of like my career-ending injury. Then
Gotcha.
about a month ago, my dad had passed away. So
Oh no,
that,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
that was tough. I mean, obviously
Wow.
every
So you
day's
had
tough.
both those like right rapid fire. Got hurt then, or did your dad pass first and then you got
No,
hurt?
it was afterwards. Matter of fact, my dad came to Ohio, picked me up after surgery because it's a
Oh,
long,
okay.
it's a long surgery and all that. But
Right.
he
Gotcha. I'm
drove
so
back.
sorry. I did not know that. I didn't. So you passed while you were like a junior.
Yeah. So so
Wow.
third year. Matter of fact, it was right before spring break, and so he passed away, and that was tough. So I went
I'm
to a
sure.
dark place during that time, a really dark place. I did a lot of stupid things. I walked away from football, even though I was told I was pretty much done playing, but I walked away from everybody. I kind of went into a different world. And then, so I wasn't really thinking about where I was going to go or what I was going to do. You lose someone, that is someone you looked up to and you hope to guide you. And it was tough. But I tell you, going into my senior year, I was working out with one of my best friends, Frank Franco, who was getting ready for his football. And he said to me, Michelle, you're still running pretty fast. Like, you're still moving. Like, why don't you just go back? Why don't you see if they'll let you back in? And I'm like, you know what? I reached out to Coach Parker, and we had a great conversation. And he's like, you know what? Stay by the phone. Remember, then we didn't really have cell
Right.
phones, so
Yeah. Right.
he called me, and Coach Pinkel called me. Says, "You hear you want to come back?" And I said, "Of course." And, he's like, "You know what? Come on back." He's like, "We'd love to have you."
Cool.
And Dr. Dave, spent a lot of time working on my knee. getting me stronger and stuff like that. And they gave me an opportunity to at least be on the field, special teams, and or at least try to work for a spot. And but to me, it was more than that. It was just about being back with the guys. The locker
Right.
room, it was cool. I ended up moving in with Jamal and Aristotle and those guys, and being back in the locker room, just it's hard to explain the feeling, but that's the biggest part of football or any sport. To me, the locker room, the guys are awesome. I mean,
Right.
you want to go and laugh and share some good stories. You walk into Toledo's locker room during my time, and we had a lot of fun and a lot of great guys out there, a lot of funny guys. Which you walk in a bad mood, and there's always somebody who makes you laugh, and so that was the thing that I loved, and it brought a lot of life back to me. And I was so happy I went back. Finished the year. Obviously, we had a great year as a team. Winning the championship and all that stuff. So it was awesome being part of that. I mean, I wish I'd, kind of always regret leaving and not being there from the beginning, and the training and all that. But I was happy that the guys, brought me in and made me feel at home again. And so I was always thankful for that. That actually sparked me to finish off strong at Toledo, waiting from not doing great in school to, finally getting some A's and graduating and, coming out with a degree and getting me back into New Jersey to get my career going. So
That's cool. I'm glad you shared that story because, part of the thing when you talk about the threads that connect people, right? The threads of connectivity, you always tend to look at other people's lives and you see them in a snapshot of a moment of their life. You go, wow, they've got their act together, man. What a great life they have. And then when you get into getting to know someone at a personal level, like you just shared, that dark time, that injury, the death of your father, put you in a bad place. But sports, your teammates, your own desire, right, to fight back, saved you.
Oh yeah, I mean,
That made you where you think of the path. If you had not done that, where would our conversation be today? What would we be talking about today? Right?
sure. I mean, look, there were a lot of great coaches that I got to, play under. Even Coach Manny, who I looked up to and even followed him, and he was awesome. He
Right.
taught you how to fight through, and it's funny. A lot of people know Coach Manny out here because he went to Michigan State, and a lot of guys played around here from Michigan State. But in general, guys like that really, and obviously Coach Pinkel and Coach Parker. I mean, he was awesome to me. We spent a lot of time talking about a lot of things, and those are the guys that that should be applauded for being that role model, right? That
Right.
when I sit and watch these football games, and my kids now they see that, and I say, hey, there's my coach, Coach Pinkel, one at the time was coaching Missouri, or you
Right.
see Coach Parker, or even you see Coach Manny running on the side, or you see a bunch of coaches. Now you're Eberflus, like I mean, Eberflus was my captain, and kids love it. Like, no way, Dad, right? So those are the guys that that sparked me to say, you know what, they were tough on you, but they were tough on you for a reason, and they taught you there's a line there that you get to choose the road, right? And Coach always used to say that, Pinkel, like you gotta do the right thing, obviously, and we've all done a lot of stupid things, but he's always trying to press forward, right?
Right.
About just having a process in place, and that's something that's taught me, with my business and what I do every day. When I talk about process in my job, guys laugh. They hear that
Right.
word a lot, but I'm all about process, man. And but I've been thankful just being around a lot of great people, man. A lot of great
Right. That's
players.
great. That's
Um,
great.
to me,
That's
I look up to a lot of those guys. I mean, even just last week, text a few guys. Those are your guys, right? You don't have to see them for 20
lifelong
something
friends.
years. I feel like it was just yesterday we were hanging out. So
Right. Lifelong friends. All right. So thank you, by the way, for sharing that because that sharing of what happened there with the injury and your dad led you, that spark, right, that helped you finish strong. So now you wrap up football, you wrap up Toledo, you move back to, did you go pick it up from there? Did you go
yeah,
back
so I
to
went back
Jersey?
to New Jersey, And I moved in back with my mom. She had moved back from Cleveland.
Yeah, after your dad had
We went
passed.
back
Okay.
to Short Hills, and I, worked at first company was a mortgage company. I really didn't know what I wanted to do at the
Right.
time, and but I knew it was something maybe in sales. So I ended up taking a job with a mortgage company, Champion Mortgage. I don't know if you remember that company, but
Champion Mortgage. Okay.
and then I actually, it's funny. I ran into an old friend that we were captains wrestling, and his father was CEO of ADP, and basically said, "What are you doing?" And I told him. He goes, "Why don't you come by, interview, and see how you do?" And that was the first time I put a suit on, interviewed. They put me through a big, long interview process, and met with like 9 different managers for like almost a week, and that sparked. They offered me the job, so I ended up working in at ADP selling payrolls, just really just walking the turf in Newark and all those areas, and Bayonne, and selling payroll to small business owners. That was a hustle. But then after that, I got picked up by Novartis, worked at Novartis Pharmaceuticals. And then I started realizing I really want to get into finance. And just through the networking and, that helped me get into working into Wall Street. So that's how it all started.
I got you.
I was actually coaching football as well, the youth football, and through coaching a lot of these young kids, some parents were in the business that built a good relationship with, and went from there.
So talk. You mentioned networking and just that kind of different jobs, finding your way to Wall Street. What's like kind of the biggest tip that you would give to people that are kind of at the front end of the stick here? That where you were 25 years ago. What would you tell them about networking? What do they need to do?
I mean, to me, networking is the power of just life. I mean, and now with all the technology, LinkedIn, all the other stuff that's out there, I mean, it's easy to connect. But to me, networking is what really sets the platform for success. Being able to move up in the ranks by being, able to know people that can show you the ropes. To me, I've always been taught, you follow successful people, and that's what I try to do. Network with guys that, see the way I see things, but are successful, right? And obviously, I always said they're doing something right. So, and just through the grind of what we learned through sports, football, wrestling, baseball. I mean, it's just teaching you how to not only fight through and how to deal with a lot of challenges, but even in football, you had to learn how to network with guys, right? We had
Right.
guys from all over the place, and you had to
Right.
learn how to adapt and all the players from different areas. So to me, it's awesome. Networking
Right.
to me is and I teach my kids every day. Got to just always stay in touch with people, and and just keep moving forward. But yeah,
Right.
networking is the key to success, especially now in these days, because that's how you learn. That's how you learn what's going on in the world, right? From just getting to understand what other people are doing. You know, I like to always try to understand who's doing what, right? So
Right. So talk now about Wall Street a little bit. So you get onto Wall Street. What type of stuff did you do on Wall Street, and are you still doing on Wall Street? Talk about Wall Street.
yeah, so when I first started, I didn't even know what Wall Street was at the time. To be honest with you, I was working for a broker. I thought that was Wall Street. And then through football, one of the gentlemen worked at Merrill Lynch, brought me to the floor, and which is now it's still the floor, but it's a little different. But when he brought me down there, and I walked onto Merrill Lynch's floor, I remember it reminded me of walking into football stadium. I mean, it was just crazy. Guys yelling and just so much going on. And I was like, I want to do this. So. Um, Worked at a place called Herzog, which was connected to Merrill, and that's how it started. I mean, it was a little tough too, because then September 11th happened, and I was just starting to finally get things going, and they had to close down the firm I was at. So I was back out looking for a job. So I ended up taking a job as a temp at a place called Jeffries, which was one of my favorite companies to work for.
Great,
And I was
great
a
company.
temp there, and you know what? Just learn how to just follow guys, get to know guys. I had some great mentors there that gave me opportunity to be a sales trader. And then from there, I just grew from there. And I'm still doing it. Work at a place called Odeon Capital, and focus a lot on the merger and acquisition side of the world. But work with a great group, great CEO, and though he's from Michigan, went to the University of Michigan. We'll give him a little pass there, but I remind him that we took him down one year. But yeah, it's a great business, but Wall Street reminds me of football. It's like next man up. And you're always battling every day. So, but the networking is very important. How you present yourself and how you deal with clients is a big thing. Not just about networking, but about how you treat people. Right? To me,
Right.
Treating people with respect and is very important in any job. But Wall Street could swallow you too. So just like playing college football, right? So everything's a battle, but I think that's the training we get from, obviously come from school, and then if you have an opportunity to play in college, I think it's helped me a lot. And I've
Right.
always been thankful to have those couple of years of, playing a sport that I love and challenging myself. There were great players now, let me tell you, that I was around, and even our DB squad, we had guys like, Anderson and some great players, man. And, it was exciting to be in that room, seeing those guys and try to, compete with them and stay with them. And that's what helped me, move forward and into what I'm doing.
Right. That's cool. Yeah, it's interesting. You use some great words when you talk about, you just got to stay networking. It's respect, right? And it's process. I mean, that's what business basically is, right? It's process, it's respect, it's connections, networking with people, learning from other people. So you've made some great statements here through the conversation. Talk a little bit about, you've mentioned family and you've mentioned your sons, a little bit your kids. Talk a little bit about that. Talk about your family. We know about your mom and dad now, but talk about your kids and your family.
So my wife's from Brooklyn, so she went to Montclair State, but she's very smart. She's a smart one in her family, thankfully. She did really well. She actually had an amazing job out of college, and she actually worked at Merrill Lynch for a while. And then we decided, obviously, to have a family, and we were blessed to be able to have 3 boys. And the first thing I did is just throw a football right in their hand, and it's been great. I have 3 boys that play ball at this time. Now they're 11, 15, and 16. So I have a 6th grader, a 9th grader, and a sophomore now. So
Okay.
so it's been cool. It's keep me active. I run the football program here for the youth for Old Japan. So we've had many successes there and a lot of fun. It's been a little crazy for us here.
Yeah, you're in that time in life where your kids are. You look forward to Sunday night
yeah,
because you can go back to work on Monday, right?
I know. You know what? It's funny. We talk about this all the time. I enjoy it, man. Time's flying
You
by.
have to.
I'm enjoying every moment. I'm blessed to be able to see these kids out there playing something I love, but they're doing their own thing. They love it. They're enjoying it. Now 2 of them are doing track. The other one's actually doing this like 7-on-7, but it's cool. It's cool to see they're growing, and I instill what I learned, right? My wife and I, we try to stick to what we were taught from our parents to, and obviously from what we learned from sports. And so it's, thankfully things have been great. It's been a lot of fun. We have a pretty solid program here in Old Japan, some good football up here in Bergen County. So it's been cool to be part of that too. And, now my kids are in high school, so it's fun. It's fun right now.
That's neat. That's neat.
See
Yeah,
what
it's
happens from there.
challenging. There's an old saying, right? They say, little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. And, when my children were young and people would say that, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then as they grow, you realize like, wow, it never ends. And by the way, even with grown children, right? My kids are in their late 20s now and living in Charlotte, but you still worry about them, even though they're not around them every day and they're independent on their own, you still worry about them. So
Every
that's cool.
day. But now we
Now,
turn into Uber drivers. So, I feel like I just drive them around everywhere now. So
I know, right? So, all right. So it's funny. Our conversation through the dialogue today, football's been a theme, and that's big part of your life. But it's interesting. You've talked about, well, one of my friends networked through because their dad was at ADP, and then I went to work, and then I networked through, and now you're coaching. You've referenced that kind of since you got out of college, you've been coaching. Now I'm going to assume you're coaching your boys and other kids in the neighborhood, right? In
Yeah,
Old Japan.
correct. Yeah.
So talk about that, weave that together. I mean, where do you think your career would be if it wasn't for those informal networking relationships that were connected to sports? What do you think the path would be different, or would you think
Yeah,
it'd
it
be the
probably would have been
same?
different. It's hard for me. It's really hard to kind of pull that out because that's been part of my life, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely it would have probably gone a different road.
Mhm.
I mean, things happen for a reason. And you always, look up and praise the Lord and thanks for everything. Every day I pray and I thank Him for giving me the opportunity and giving me the strength to make the right decisions every day. Listen, we're not perfect. We do a lot of stupid things, but one thing I know, I'm surrounded by some great people, and I have some great friends. I mean, I just got back from a trip with guys I've known for 35 plus years. And
Right.
we're still tight. Still talk football. Still, I mean, even last week, my buddy talked about the Toledo process when I went back up there. So, I don't know. I think it would have definitely been a different road without networking. So, and I still network every day, man. So it never
Yeah.
stops. I always love to try to help, whoever I can, if I can. And especially in sports, try to do whatever I can to help guys and families and stuff. So we're
Right.
always moving, definitely busy. But
Exactly.
I'm thankful
So
for these things that come about. So
I'm with you, man. So let me ask you this. I'm gonna flash forward now to Frank Miceli celebrates his 100th birthday, and now we're looking back. You're looking back over your life. What's Frank's legacy, man? What's your legacy going to be? Have you thought about it?
I don't know. I just listen. I just move every day and try to do the right thing and hope that um, especially my kids understand one day when they say, "Hey, Dad was right." Kind of like I say the same thing, like my parents are right. Just hope that people remember that just try to do the right thing for guys and hope they look at me like, hey, you know what? Had a lot of fun with Frank and I learned a lot and just had a good time and enjoyed life. Right? At the end of the
Right.
day, that's what we're here to enjoy, and that's what we try to do every day. Right?
So, you know, early in our conversation, you talk about that tragic moment in your life in college when your dad passed. What, you know, what's the legacy now of your father that you are living with your kids? I mean, I sense from you, Frank, that was just a moment in time that your dad and you were close, and that was a moment that hurt, right? Many years
Oh
ago.
yeah. You know what? It
Still
hurts.
probably does,
Oh,
right?
it hurts every day. I mean,
Right.
no, it's look. I think that my kids know who my dad is, and I always tell them, even if they do something that made no sense, I would tell them like, if my dad was here, if Grandpa was here, Nono was here, he'd kick your butt.
Yeah.
Maybe this school year, these time of the year is a little different, but back in the day, you got whooped, if you didn't do the right thing. And I
Right.
tell you, look, my parents, they were strong. They taught me, how to fight. Both of them came from Italy, and they worked their way up. So they showed me
Right.
that there is success when you work hard and you do the right thing. And and my kids sense that, right? They see that, they hear the stories.
Right.
So yeah, definitely left. My dad left a big mark, and I was always thankful for the time we spent, and it was good. Listen, he came and visited me in college when he could, and so there's a lot of memories.
That's cool. Well, you know what? From what you're describing about your involvement with the kids and coaching and that, you're taking the legacy that was given to you and you've made it better. You're making it better. You're doing and I know in your mind when you hear me say that, you're thinking, Rick, I'm just living my life, man.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just trying to fight to get through this afternoon. If I could get off this podcast with you and get on with my day, right?
So, it's always a pleasure speaking to you, Rick. And so I'm, again, very thankful we met, and
Me too.
we've had a lot of great convos and a lot of introductions. So just think if I didn't go to that Toledo event, this wouldn't, we wouldn't have this path here. So
Right.
that's why to me it's always important. I I wish I could get back to Toledo. It's hard, obviously, with 3 kids and especially
Yeah.
doing football. But the time will come, and hopefully we'll be out there soon. So
Right. That's cool. Well, listen, I'm grateful for the time that we spent. I always like to give guests an opportunity if there, as the conversation's going on, I'm kind of driving questions at you and steering the dialogue. Is there anything that's popped into your mind here that you want to mention or reference or anything? It's just, in your mind you want to get out to us?
no, I mean, I think that first of all, it was an opportunity for me to be in Toledo. It was great. It's great to see how much has grown. It's exciting to see them on TV. It's a proud moment for Rockets.
Right.
To see these guys out there battling, knowing what you had to go through, and having a lot of big names come out of there. And to me, it's he always says, right, everything goes through Toledo, and it's the truth.
Yep.
There's always somebody I meet that somehow was in Toledo or has something to do with Toledo. So I'm thankful and blessed I had an opportunity and to meet guys like yourself. So um, you know, it was fun, and you always wish you could go back and change some things. I wouldn't change a lot of things, maybe the certain injuries and stuff like that, but
Right. Right.
that, what, I wouldn't change a thing. I had a blast. It was awesome. I had some great relationships, great times, and again, so I'm always proud to see Rocket Nation up there. So
That's right. Me too. It's always fun. So, well, Frank, listen, I'm grateful for the time. I know you're very busy with work and family and that. I know Wall Street's demanding. So I appreciate you sharing your journey here with the audience here for the Rocket Networker podcast. So thank you.
thank you, Rick. It's great seeing you, bud.
Good deal.
Go
And
Rockets.
that's it. Go Rockets. And that's it for this episode of the Rocket Networker podcast. And remember, at the Rocket Networker, we believe that it's time to launch connections to ignite your success. But the key question is, are you ready? To schedule a Rocket Networker training program or keynote speech, go to rocketnetworker.com. It's time to launch connections to ignite your success. Are you ready?